Greetings and salutations. This is HUGH JARSZ, and here I am, bleary-eyed. It's 6 o'clock in the morning, but that's what suits you guys, so that's why I'm up here doing this. And with me, I have Johnny Orbital, and and Seek Truth, Speak Truth. How are you guys?
Good.
Yeah, all good, all good.
So the theme for today's chat is, well, back to Sanity, and it was going to also include a psychologist named Paul, but I haven't been able to contact him, unfortunately. He must be busy doing his thing. So we're just going to have a chat. Both Seek Truth, Speak Truth and Johnny Orbital are former flat earthers, and we just want to look at the mindset of people who get into conspiracy theories in general, not flat earth in particular. But why people fall for that and how we can help them to avoid that sort of thing. Or if they do fall for it, how do we pull them out? Johnny might not be known to most people. So, Johnny, can you give us a little bit of précis of your history and why you're here, basically?
Yeah, well, essentially, it was just like you say, conspiracies. I enjoy them. You know, I like to think there's a bit of mystery left in the world, and if you think you've uncovered something, you feel a bit impressed, and you stumble across flat Earth while you're rooting through conspiracies. It's just one of those things. It was a while ago that I got into it, and I'm just fighting the cause now.
So, when did you fall for all of this, and when did you come out? Well, that sounds rude, doesn't it?
Well,
that's not what I mean.
I'd say around about. I think it was about somewhere between 5, 6, 7 years ago. Ended up looking into Antarctica. I'd kind of followed a path, got to Antarctica, and then obviously you heard about flat Earth and the ice ring and all the rest of it. And yeah, I'll be honest, I wasn't in it quite long. I'd say around about 3 or 4 months. I'd say I was convinced. But then it's a couple of triggers, a couple of red flags, kind of had me questioning flat Earth, and very quickly found my way out of it.
Yeah, there's a couple of things there I found fascinating. You said you enjoy conspiracies. I think most people do, actually. It's about how you deal with it, I guess, once you've found them. But we'll go into that a little bit more, hopefully. And you're in. I think every human has, adamantly believed in something that they later found out was false, because we're human. We make mistakes. And hopefully we can explore that a little bit more too. All right, Seek Truth, Speak Truth. What's your little history in the conspiracy theory game? I mean, a lot of people know it, but I want to hear it from your own words.
So yeah, I mean, basically, because I keep saying 2.5 years, but I'm gonna have to say 3 years now, because no, sorry. COVID has messed up my bloody timings and everything. That was 2019, November.
It was last year, wasn't
it? No, it wasn't actually. No, it was
no, last year didn't exist.
No. Oh yeah, it doesn't exist. True. Yeah, we'll just count that out then. So yeah, just over a year ago, when on Baldy Cats basically made a video debunking one of my flat Earth videos. It was the first time really that obviously I'd interacted with like a bigger channel, and I really ended up trusting him. Before that, I had been a flat earther for about 2.5 years, making videos. I'd probably made about, I don't know, 40, 50 videos, like as a flat earther, and just relaying the same nonsense over and over again. Just thinking that I'm the Messiah, Mr. Big Head. And yeah, I got brought back down to reality with a bump, but it's better this side of truth. Yes, mate, the conspiracy mindset is quite an addictive thing, and it's like an addiction in a way. So yeah, I'm kind of now a recovering conspiracy theorist, shall we say.
Yeah. You've still got your conspiracy videos up, haven't you, on your channel? So people can go and look at them if they want to.
Yep, I have, mate. Yep, they're all still up there. So anyone can go and kind of follow the journey on the channel, really. I then have made about another 100 videos as a globe earther afterwards, and then debunked a few of my old videos, you know, so yeah, I've really laid the journey out on there, if you know what I mean. So anyone can just go back and just kind of follow the conspiracy mindset, and you know, just see the process people go through, I suppose. Yeah, so it's all there, buddy.
And I think that's a good resource too, because the difference in the type of person, at least the way it comes across on camera, between when you were back as a conspiracy theorist and now is just stark. You know, you're quite not a particularly nice guy back then. It really felt very aggressive, and you know, everyone's stupid and that kind of thing. And now you're just one of the nicest guys around. So I think that shows a lot how it affects your mental state, getting caught into these things.
Massively. You know, there's flat earthers at the minute I've seen where well, you've been aware of Rachie. At first, you know, she seemed so innocent. Oh, I think the earth might be flat, but she's doing what I used to do now, and she's on this high of like, I'm right, you're wrong, you know, and just not even considering could she be wrong, you know. It's now on a high horse, and I've seen the change. So yeah, I'll definitely see how you've noticed it with me, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, Dora in the oh, there's a few there. Dora in the chat is saying that self-debunks, you had the market cornered on that, SDST. I would encourage you to do a few more of those. I've seen a couple of them, and they were a really good idea, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I did step away from the debunking for a little while, for sort of actual mental health reasons, to be honest, mate. Even as a, you know, kind of like a debunker of flat Earth, in the back of my head, I'm still an ex-flat earther, and I did believe that. And when I kind of got drawn into having back and forths with different channels, and it kind of just affected me a little bit, if you know what I mean. So I stepped away. But you're right, you know, debunking myself, there's nothing wrong with that, is there? Just a bit of
it's a bit hard to get someone who'd be offended by it.
No, only me, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah, I mean, I love watching the debunks still, and I try and keep up on top of it, if you know what I mean, to try and, you know, I still chat with a lot of flat earthers, don't get me wrong, in the chats and, you know, comment sections. So I still try and stay up on things, but you know, I was a flat earther, so my debunks are more about the psychology, I think, than the facts that I'm debunking it with, if you know what I mean. There's channels out there that can do a much better job at that than I can. But yeah, I try and look at the psychology side of it from my perspective, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, that's basically why I'm having this stream, because I'm fascinated by the psychology of it. How do you get yourself into those situations where you've got your own mind trap and you trap yourself in there?
Yeah.
And you know, I'd like to explore that in this stream. So Tusk has got a question for you, Johnny. What was the first conspiracy you got into, I presume you meant? And did you lose friends over the time that you were involved?
Right, so a friend of mine got me onto Zeitgeist. I don't know if you've heard or know of the kind of documentary thing, Zeitgeist.
No.
It's kind of split into three parts. First one's religion, second one's the Twin Towers, the third one's the men behind the curtain. And my mate was telling me for ages to watch it, and I never really bothered with it. And then when I ended up watching it, it was kind of I saw it as kind of mind-blowing. It was weird. I mean, the religion thing was quite eye-opening anyway. The Twin Towers, you just take it with a pinch of salt either way, because no one's going to know if there was any inside if it was an inside job, no one would ever know anyway. I mean, I'm sure they covered the tracks pretty well. And the men behind the curtain was all about the RFID chips and the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, and this and the other. So that was kind of what set me on the journey. But I found myself trying to take pictures of Nibiru behind the sun, taking pictures of the sun and checking out my pictures, seeing if I'd caught the second sun and Planet X, and God, there was all sorts, to be honest. Baalbek's one I refuse to research because that's aliens, and no one's going to tell me any different. I am only joking, of course, but
I haven't heard of Baalbek. You want to explain that one?
Baalbek it's a huge temple in Lebanon, Baalbek in Lebanon, and these like huge, I think it's like 200-ton stones on top of other stones that's accredited to the Romans apparently, but as far as the history goes, So I read while I was doing the conspiracy stuff. The Romans hadn't done anything that large. I think the second largest one they'd done, if they did that, was around about a third of that size. So they're just huge.
I think the Egyptians were the same.
Like, yeah, it's just the megaliths. You know, they're hard to explain when we're just assuming and we're guessing and we're saying, well, it must have been them because they did this. And so there's quite a few. But Baalbek I really like because you see pictures of it and it's amazing. There's like you see pictures of it and there's like a big brick like this that's about, I can't tell you how long it is, but there's huge, and there's like a picture of a person next to it who's this big, and you're amazed that was done before history started being written. So there's a lot of interesting things that I classed as conspiracy and evidence of something, whereas in our lessons it's really just interesting, you know. And the more you look into it, the more you know.
Yeah, definitely interesting, and just because something, but it's incredulity, I think, plays a massive factor.
Yeah.
People say, "Oh, how could it possibly do that?" Like Building 7 at the World Trade Center for September 11, it just fell down apparently independently. But if you know nothing about how seismic things work when there's a massive impact nearby, and there might be tunnels and things under it and that sort of thing, you wouldn't know that it's quite possible for that to happen.
Especially when there's apparently lots of fires in the bottom of Tower 7 as well, so all adds to it, doesn't it? So
and things like Baalbek, big stones. Why would aliens move stones around? I don't understand why that would even be a connection.
To satisfy my curiosity, that's why.
Because you like the story, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I guess maybe conspiracy theorists get so invested in the story that they just stick with it. So.
Well, that's it. I mean, I've spoken to Mick West, and I've said to him, look, one thing I don't ever want you to do is discuss Baalbek, because and that's a big part of what I think is with Flat Earth. I want it to be what I want it to be, and I know that if I research it, it won't be that. So there's a kind of a mental block. If you get me, in a sense, I don't want it to be explained, because then the mystery's gone.
Yes, exactly. I'm a bit similar with Bigfoot. I think I would want Bigfoot to exist. I like the idea that a remnant hominoid has survived despite the rest of us being here. And I've actually seen something that I think was a Yowie, which is the Australian version of it. So to me, I have some evidence, but it's certainly not conclusive evidence. I didn't see any features on its face or anything like that. I saw it from behind. But I saw something. So in my mind, it's nothing I can show to anyone else because it was, I didn't have a camera or anything like that. And even if I did, no one would believe it anyway. But to me, the possibility is still there that there's something out there. But because I don't have conclusive evidence, despite what I've seen with my own eyes, I don't assume that it's real. I might have been mistaken. It was something else, I mean, we don't have bears in Australia, of course, but who knows? I might have just... Humans make mistakes, and that's where a lot of this would come from, I think.
I've only ever seen one weird thing myself. And I was waiting for my friend to come home. I'd not taken anything. I was watching a plane high in the sky, so small it was almost just like a dot. I was watching it disappear in one direction. It was just about to go behind a row of houses, and it came back on itself for about 5 seconds and then went back again. Now, whether that was just one plane going behind a cloud, another one happened to be coming the other way, I don't know, but I saw it. It was weird. I'll remember it forever.
Yeah.
Can't explain it. Don't know what it was.
I think that explanation is very, very plausible, isn't it? Especially if in the UK where there's planes everywhere.
Well, yeah. And I'm in Manchester.
That's where the
there's an airport nearby.
Yeah, I've been to Manchester Airport. It's whenever I was in the UK, I'd look up, especially in the summertime. There's just condensation trails everywhere because there's so many planes flying over to America from Europe and vice versa. So, Tuss says that in his experience, long-term unemployment and overuse of weed is usually the pathway to all this nonsense. Then paranoia takes hold, and it's down the rabbit hole we go. And
I'll claim one of them.
I'd say that's
which one?
True for a lot of people. I'd say.
Well, it's not the unemployment. Well, but obviously, I only fly over to America where it's legal to have it. So I don't obviously, but
Yeah, it's well, you know, I just look at a lot of flat earthers. Most of them are unemployed or unemployable, so they're left with a lot of time on their hands to think through things and
Yeah.
go down rabbit holes.
I think it's like a safety blanket. Do you know what I mean? Like that's when I found it, was when I was in quite a low place, and you become very empowered very quickly. And you know, you can either go to university and study for 4 years, 5 years, or you can watch 4 or 5 hours of flat earth videos and you're suddenly a master, if you know what I mean. So people find comfort in that, I think, and with other conspiracies as well. Just makes you feel better about yourself, I think. And like I think like what Tusk said is probably right. You know, I'm not saying every flat earther is unemployed and smokes weed, but I'd say a huge percentage would. But you know, it's not, you know, just maybe a sweeping generalization. But I would say
a lot of them
so.
do.
You know? Yeah, you know, it will make the mind wander, and yeah, a lot of time on your hands. That's a mixture for disaster, I think, if you know what I mean. Like, you know, even though I'm up for a bit of recreational smoking, shall we say, but you know, not
herbal remedies.
All your life with it. Yeah.
Well, I reckon in 20 years' time, we'll all think of it as a herbal remedy for sure, you know, because the way things are going, it'll be legal fairly soon. So, especially as I'm getting older, not that I've actually never had marijuana, but as I'm getting older, the idea of something that'll help with pain relief, I think that's more appealing, put it that way.
So, it does seem to have a lot of benefits, doesn't it? It's being used as you know, as medicine all over the world at the minute.
Yeah, for a while I was thinking, with all our modern technology, and this is an argument from incredulity, I guess, with all our modern technology and all the decades of research into pain relief, why would we need something like this? What would it do that all the things that we've already developed can't do? But then I as I've gotten older and I've had to make use of pain relief a little bit more, I realize how toxic pain relief really is. So something a little bit more natural might help. I don't know. Like I said, I've never tried it. I haven't got to the point where my pain is like that. But I like the idea of it being available at some point. But yeah,
well, if you ever sorry.
Do you know a guy?
No, I was just going to say, if you ever do, just avoid smoking it and just have it other ways. You know, edibles and stuff like that, because obviously the smoking is toxic in it. So
yeah. Well, the older you get, the less that matters, I guess. But yeah, I've never smoked anything. I don't smoke cigarettes or anything like that. But yeah, the oil and stuff like that's probably a good thing. If that's the active bit, then that's all you need, really. Now, both of you, well, Johnny mentioned it, but Citrus mentioned it in the video that where he came out back as a globe earther. Antarctica, and of course that's relatively close to me. It's like 8 hours flight from where I am, probably 9, but it's a lot closer than the UK. Johnny, tell me a bit about what you were following in Antarctica. What was the thing that you were getting into there?
Well, first it was the Nazis all went there instead. There was absolutely nothing to back that up. But then I found out that one of the ice shelves is called the Rockefeller Plateau. And obviously when you hear the name Rockefeller, it just gives you flags, doesn't it? So so that was kind of it. And I wasn't really looking that much into Antarctica before I found Flat Earth. And one of the things that did kind of strike me about Antarctica, there was a map found, I think it was either around 500 years ago, or it was created 500 years ago, that shows the landmass under Antarctica. And now with the modern technology that we can actually see the landmass through the ice, it does match up quite well. Again, that's something I've never really followed. I've never really chased up and worked out how that could be, why that could be, or if I was even just reading false information at the time. I've no idea. I think it's the Piri-Reis map or something like that. I'm not 100%.
Oh, yes, yeah.
It was something that showed the landmass, which was quite shocking, because how could anybody know that? And obviously, while I was kind of looking into things at Antarctica, that's when I stumbled across Flat Earth, and That's when everything went a bit crazy.
Well, if you look at old maps in general, a lot of cartographers just made a guess, and sometimes they get lucky. I guess that's what happened with Piri Regis.
It's possible, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah. Seek Truth, you were going to say something.
Oh, I can't remember what it was now, buddy. Another thing, though.
Antarctica. Yeah.
Yeah. There's places there, aren't there, like where they have mountains or whatever, but some of them are called dome, aren't they? Something dome. I used to, little things like that. As a flat earther or conspiracy theorist, you'll find any little thing and use that as evidence. And it could be the way something's named, like an aeroplane. So I'd think, plane flies over a plane. And they say it's like hiding things in plain sight. So
what? So much of that I find puzzling. Why would you? Why would you go to the effort of hiding things in plain sight, especially if you're trying to keep it secret? That's like counterproductive.
Yeah,
well, that's apparently part of the ritual. It's a part of the so the saying goes. It's because it's all they attribute it all to the devil and Satan, and it's all he's lying to you and he's fooling you. That part of that is you have to show a bit. You have to hide it in plain sight. So I'm not sure why. I think it's so in the end you can say, well, we've told you from the start. We've made it obvious. And I think that's what the conspiracy side say regarding hiding it in plain sight. If I even make sense.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean.
I just want to address what you said about domes. It's not just in Antarctica. It's a geological term for the dome of a volcano. And Admiral Byrd was referring to Mount Erebus, which is the highest mountain in Antarctica. And if you remember, about 30 years ago, a plane crashed on Mount Erebus because an eruption happened underneath it. And all those people were lost, of course, and it's very hard to get to. They had no chance, really. That's why those flights are so dangerous. But it's a volcanic dome, and that's what Admiral Byrd was referring to. But because it's, as Johnny said, the conspiracy theorists latch onto anything that supports their point of view and say, "Oh, it must be true." As a result, and why would the dome only be in Antarctica? It should be everywhere, shouldn't it?
Yeah, you think so?
Well, they do. They say it's a 13,000 foot high, naturally forming ice dome. So it says in the
No, it doesn't say ice dome. Well, it might say it's covered in ice, but I don't read. I read it.
That might be where I'm getting it from.
Yeah, I read it for a video a while back. I did Admiral Byrd, the one I did for Wally actually, and then it was shown on MC Toons, a video on what Flurfs say about Antarctica. So look that one up. But
I've looked into the Admiral Byrd, those videos of when he's come back to the interviews, and the amount of times he says the continent of Antarctica, and that the Antarctic continent is surrounded by a frozen sea. And these are his actual quotes that you can see in the video and you can hear him saying, but obviously they're never mentioned by the flat earthers. The cherry picking just never ends, does it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, when he said, there's hidden lands or something, weren't it? He supposedly said, not hidden lands, like there was,
he said there was undiscovered land the size of America. And if you actually if you superimpose America over Antarctica, Antarctica's around about twice the size. So unexplored land around the size of America makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's just that no one would ever want to go there because it's frozen and bloody cold. So you can't grow anything. There's no food. So it's all a bit crazy that they even think that he meant that people could go there. But or Admiral Byrd thought actually, I think because he was an admiral and a sailor, therefore he's done a lot of sailing in the cold areas, and he's. I was thinking he was thinking like Spitsbergen and places like that where people live. It's like the coldest place on earth to live, but people go there and work, and you can dig up oil and gas and stuff. And that's what he was thinking. You could explore it for that, but food's the problem in Antarctica. You can't grow anything, so you're going to have to ship it all in, and that makes logistics very difficult. You're not going to have millions of people moving there, that's for sure.
Yeah. When I first found or came into flat Earth, really, at first I started thinking, like I saw a globe once, and really only half of it has got land on it. Is it the Atlantic or the Pacific Ocean is huge, and it like takes up more or less like a half of the planet. And
Yeah,
I
Pacific,
kept thinking like, yeah, Pacific, and I kept thinking, why is all the land this side, you know? And then obviously that Admiral Byrd thing, there was so much land beyond the South Pole, and I started to think, did they find new land and then just thought, why do we keep bringing this back to the world and telling everyone, you know, and let's just keep this to ourselves? And, you know, we've got lovely, and then that's where I started to think, is that where UFOs come from? Like my mind was going crazy. Like, you know, like maybe they're so much more advanced. They've got better technology than us, these people that live that side of the planet. And I actually crazily started to think about like trying to write a book, like, you know, obviously a fiction book. And then like just randomly looking on YouTube, and then found, oh, the ice wall, Eric Dubé's 200 proofs. And yeah, here I am.
That guy's got a lot to answer for.
He has.
Well, good news. Simon Dan is really taking you on, and I don't know if it's going to be next week or next month. He's done part 1 yesterday, or maybe still today for you guys, of debunking Eric Dubé's movie Level. What a load of crap that is. And there's 2 aspects of that I want to get into. I just want to announce that Where's Wally has contacted Simon Dan and has asked a whole bunch of debunkers to do debunk sections of the movie, and I've done a few of those as well. So I don't know if Dan's going to use it. I don't know how it's going to work, whether he's going to play them all end to end or whatever, or he's just going to take the ideas and redo them. Who knows? That's up to him. He's Dan. So, but yeah, and I think he's going to do it one section, 1/3 of the movie a month, because it's a 20-minute section, and it takes a while to debunk.
Oh yeah, and you could tell actually he'd really written that one well. If you know what I mean, like he put a few jokes in there, and I was like actually laughing out loud throughout that. Actually, it was really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that look Dan gives that.
Yeah,
it just makes me. I've actually screenshotted one of them, and the amount of times I'm ready for posting it for Flat Earthers just as a "what are you talking about" kind of picture. That look he gives is a funny one.
He's a skinny little fella too, isn't he?
I feel like I'd have him for a snack. I don't think he's little. I think he's about 6'4", isn't he, Dan?
Oh, that's little.
Well, not to me.
Yeah, Hugh is 7'8", dude.
Oh, Colin's in the well, there's many people in the chat now. We've suddenly doubled our viewership. Maybe I should start at 6:30 instead of 6. So actually, I haven't said hi to people in the chat first. So hello again to Tusk. This guy called Seek Truth, Speak Truth. He looks a bit of a worry. Charlie Welch, g'day, mate. It's always good to see you. Doran Koo, the world's cutest Dutch person. Who's next? There was a bit of a chat there. Elon Musk, the man, the myth, the legend. Fred Bailey, don't you go home, Fred Bailey. Nerd Angle, there's a snap back from insanity. Oh, look, there's a reality. Yep, that might be a description of your journey. And Colin, you retracted one thing and then said, oi, HUGH JARSZ, you got gravity in the bag as you have your own satellites. Yeah, they're called Winnets. Anyway, it's always good to see Colin. He's does so much for the community as a whole. So it's great to see him.
He's a legend.
That covers it so far. So we've got 23 watching. If you're watching and you haven't commented in the chat, please say hello. It'd be good to say hello to you too. So where did we get to? We're talking about Level, weren't we? And there's 2 things about that. The whole what Dubé is trying to attempt that fascinate me in general about conspiracy theorists. They're very persuasive. Eric Dubé is persuasive. He's wrong, but he's persuasive. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is he utterly relies on emotion. He never puts forward any facts. He just says things as if that they're truth and you should know. And
the way he described. Oh, sorry, mate. I'm cutting you off.
No, I was just going to say that's just part of his persuasion. That's the way he does it. He's how can you disagree with Eric Dubay? You know, and I think you in particular, Seek Truth, fell for that, and that was a big part of why you were in that sort of thing.
Big time, mate. Big time. And it's quite funny.
Too.
Obviously,
those 200 proofs.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, dude, I don't even think I watched them all. I think I actually probably got bored after about 40, but by then I was like, yes, flat. Like, you know, it just because even I noticed they started to repeat themselves a little bit, if you know what I mean. And but I was already bored by then. I was just like, no, that's it. We're not on a ball.
But the fact that they repeated themselves wasn't a flag.
No. I was just ready for the tape. Yeah, you know, I think it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
See, that 200 proofs had me as well. It was a. See, I watched it all, and you don't realize until you come out of it and you rewatch it that there are the same point made in different ways. You know, when I talk to people about it, when they say when flat earthers bring up 200 proofs, I say, look, there's neither 200 nor any proofs in that video. There's around about 25 points, easily disproven, just presented in different ways, and none of them hold any water. Excuse the pun.
Greater Sapien's been doing a wonderful job demolishing it as demolishing the 200 proofs, and then he brought out levels, so he's had to pause to do levels. And he's done a wonderful job on that as well.
Yeah. Going back to you saying about the salesman, it was funny. It's not salesman, sorry. But Eric Dubay, he called Neil deGrasse Tyson basically like a salesman. And just like, you know, oh, the top scientist in the world, like this man's a salesman. But he is projecting there, if you know what I mean. Like, he is a master manipulator in a way. And I know that 99% of people are not going to get drawn in by what he says. But, you know, if
he doesn't need 95%,
Dubay,
does he?
No. He only needs a small percentage. It'd be interesting to see how much money he has maybe made out of this movie level. And I'd like to actually look more into that Hibbler Productions.
Yeah, very rather German that sounding, isn't it? Hibbler Productions. Not that there's anything wrong with being German, but
no,
you know, given that
Dubay.
Yeah, given Dubay has sort of links to those sort of those naughty people from World War II and their current versions of that. Yes, it's sort of it felt a little bit too along those lines, I guess. I'm trying to avoid saying the words that YouTube algorithm picks up on. So, I think everyone knows what I'm talking about.
You see, the thing is with the 200 proofs, the way it's presented, the way they see, flat earthers aren't as stupid as they appear. No. They're very, very smart in their manipulation tactics, their indoctrination, even though that's the thing they complain about more than anything. And it seems to be pretty much the only tool they have. But if you're not scientifically literate, these things can be very convincing. And from me, I can absolutely, you know, attest to that. So when they're saying things like the horizon's flat, you look at it and you think, why have I never realized that before? And it's just like, well, why isn't it curved? And it's like, well, it's not curved, because if it was curved, if you turned around, it'd be underneath you by then. So once you do understand it, you realize how ridiculous they sound. But until you look into it, it doesn't sound ridiculous at all. So when you're saying, do the repeating points in his 200 proofs bring up a red flag? Well, it doesn't. It does the opposite. It confirms when he said it earlier. You're like, well, he said that, and this one confirms that as well, and that confirms that as well. And by that time, you're drawn in, and it's difficult to get out of it. So, but the way I can tell a lot of them don't believe it as much as they say they do is because they always seem to know the conveniently right moment to stop discussing things with you. They know which points not to discuss. It's like you never see flat earthers discussing the lunar eclipse ever. And it's like the moment they stop shows you that they know that they can't carry on at that point, and they'll change the subject. That's why most flat earthers now, it's NASA, it's religion, it's gas pressure, its rotation, its movement. And it's like, well, you can disprove any of them, but the evidence that proves the globe is still going to be there. It needs addressing, or you don't really have a valid claim. And that's what I say to, because I'm kind of mainly on Facebook. I don't have a YouTube channel, don't really comment on much YouTube. I'm just in on Facebook, just on the front line, it seems, against all the newbies that are coming in, and you see the same thing all the time, and I've learned how to corner them by explaining that when they ask a question, I'll tell them that the question isn't the evidence. Once you research your question, find the answer that science gives and find flaws in that answer, then present it. But it obviously never happens.
Yeah, because that takes work. Yeah, and that gets back to the incredulity idea. I mean, say the horizon, it looks flat, but it isn't, as Ranty proved in what he's doing with why he turned. And I love that. To me, the clinching proof is that picture from Rory, which he took off Tenerife. He was on a cliff top in Tenerife, took a picture of the Mediterranean, I guess, and then compressed the photo side to side. So there's no change in it except in those dimensions. And you can clearly see a curve. And that's something anyone can do. If you're by the coast, you just go down, take a photo on a clear day where you get the horizon, the ocean contrasting against the sky well, and do the same thing. And it's just simply because we're so tiny, we can't perceive that curve. And the Earth is so huge, and we can't perceive that curve just by looking at it. Doesn't mean it's not there. So many things.
And if you do the same... Sorry.
I was just going to say, so many things are like that in this world that we have to work with it, with what we can perceive, sure, but that doesn't mean there aren't other things that we can't perceive.
It's like if you get a straight line, if you just get on a computer, draw a straight line and compress that, you're never going to get it to curve. So when you compare that with a horizon, you will see it. I mean, when the flat earthers say, why is the horizon flat? I normally just say it's the same distance away in every direction. It's expected to appear flat no matter which way you're looking from our perspective.
Yeah.
You say the word perspective to flat earthers, though, and you're opening a can of worms, aren't you?
But I mean, even with, say, Mr. Sensible's mage, all it was denial, wasn't it? And I actually thought, like, this has got to get a few people. Even, you know, I'm not saying maybe the money-making flat earthers, but, you know, people that are maybe prominent in the chats and things, but none. You know, it was just all denial. And it was almost foolproof, that sort of, is it an experiment? Not, you know, like what he did was almost foolproof to prove that we have curvature. And still, it was how they backed away and just, and even now I think, like, how do they expect the Earth to only go that far? Like, if the Earth was flat from that high, like, you should be able to see the tip of America. Like, you know, if the Earth was flat and just carried on, you know, why does it end 3,000, 4,000 miles away? You know, the horizon. Do you know what I mean? Like, it should be much further to a flat earther. We can't see how they can't see that. That even if they deny the curve, you should still see so much further if the Earth was flat.
Especially when you're up that high in the atmosphere and there isn't much atmosphere up there, because so, you know, the atmosphere is not making things blurry. It should be clearer.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's like I say, from the perspective of the average eye height, the horizon is around about 3 miles away. It's measurably around 3 miles away. Now, our eyes can see much further than 3 miles. So that's the question I ask to flat earthers. One of the main questions I ask at the minute, from the perspective of the average eye height, because you have to throw that in there, otherwise the answer is just going to be perspective. So I say, from the perspective of the average eye height, why is the horizon so close compared to the distance our eyes can see? And that's when it all just, the subject gets changed, because that question cannot be answered.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely right. It's a couple of things there. The sun and the moon are supposedly 5,000 kilometers up, and we can see them. So, I mean, they might be bigger, of course, but they're not that much bigger, I would have thought. So why can't we see more than 3 miles? That makes no sense. And I've forgotten the second one now. Damn it, I hate being old. Oh yes, Cool Hard Logic. He did this brilliantly. He showed that. Okay, so if you're sitting at sea level and you're looking out, you can see about 5 kilometers. This is the world. The internet is the world, so we talk metric. So about 5 kilometers, and you can't see further than that. And you go up a cliff 100 meters, and suddenly the light that couldn't be asked coming to you from more than 5 kilometers away does come to you. Why is that? Suddenly you can see beyond there. It's got nothing to do with not being too far away to see. It's just that something was in the way.
Another one that gets me is the horizon rises to eye level. It's like, why would the horizon rise to eye level on a flat Earth? On both a flat Earth and a globe, with altitude, the horizon would be expected to drop. The only people who can claim an eye level horizon are concave Earthers. That just makes logical sense. There's no reason a flat Earth horizon would rise with altitude. It just wouldn't.
And again, it's something you can easily prove yourself. You get your theodolite app, you go to any sort of elevation and take a picture of the sea level. I've done that. There's a place called Beachmont down in the Gold Coast hinterland, south of me. And you get a good view of the ocean, which is about 50 kilometers away. And so I use a theodolite app. I've put it in one of my videos. And the level of the ocean was below the horizon as the theodolite app showed. So it doesn't rise to eye level. That's just proof positive. You only need one example to prove this wrong.
You see, it's not even just that. It's the fact that flat earthers are saying, well, the horizon rises to eye level, so that's proof the Earth's flat. It's like, well, try explaining that. I'll ask them, I'll say, look, try explaining how that would work on a flat Earth. And they're just like, well, you're brainwashed. And the subject gets changed. And like I say, they always know the convenient time to stop.
Yes, it's always ironic that they say that. It's always ironic that they say we're the ones who are brainwashed.
Yeah.
It's like a reverse
the
psychology.
evidence that proves the globe doesn't even come from the TV.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come from NASA either.
They will literally even call modern science pseudoscience. From the very start, your mind is twisted opposite, and you've been indoctrinated, when really they should be saying you're now being indoctrinated. You're now being brainwashed. But they're saying you were, but I'm going to take that away. It is, it's intelligence, but in a horrible, horrible way for these guys to use it. I think Eric Dubay, I don't even know if he knows we live on a globe. I'm 99% sure he does. And he's a disgusting man, in my opinion.
You see, I've thought of smashing a few bottles and trying to sell them to flat earthers as genuine dome fragments. I mean, it shows that they'll believe, they've proven they'll believe pretty much anything. So if I set up a channel saying Flat Earth Johnny, and then say, look, I've found some genuine dome fragments, I'll sell them at $10 each. Happy days, money's in. So if at the end of the day, if Eric Dubay is trolling flat earthers and making a load of money out of it, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Now there's a dilemma.
Well, Nathan Oakley's definitely doing that.
Yeah, but he certainly is, and you can tell by how annoyed he gets.
Yeah. He's putting on a show, and people come along and watch the show. So I guess he's giving that exchange. And his sort of show is, no one else would do it, but that's because no one else would be that awful. But some people like it seems. So increasingly fewer people, but yeah.
He's an angry man.
I've been through the mindset of because Flat Earth does this to you. Going through the mindset of, well, maybe the people who originally wrote all the science books and the maths books, they purposely misled people so that everything that's been built on top of that has been built on manipulation and false information anyway. So everything we know could possibly be wrong. Now, obviously, I don't have that mindset now, but these are the stages that you find yourself going through, that anything could be a lie. And the people who would have the ability to do that would have the means to do that as well. So it's hard to dismiss and say, well, no, it's definitely not all a conspiracy, because there is a possibility. So there are certain stages of mindset that you go through that lead you to the point where, well, it could be true. And it's
but could isn't the same as it is.
Say that again, sorry.
could be true isn't the same as it is true.
No, absolutely. But a
They
possibility
sort of
is
skip that step.
also, yeah. It's being skeptical of facts, I suppose, instead of being skeptical of, you know, assumptions and faults. Like being skeptical of UFOs is one thing, but being skeptical of science is, you know, one of them can be tested and checked and researched and cross-examined, and the other one can't. So
it's like they lock themselves into a mental jail, isn't it? And what you're saying about that the original science must have been wrong, so that everything they've built since then is wrong. But wouldn't the fact that everything since then actually works give you a clue that in the other direction? But I guess you got to the point in the mindset where you refuse to even think about things like that. Yeah,
certain things you will refuse to look at because you don't want your mystery to go away.
Yeah, it is but that doesn't mean there aren't other mysteries. So
yeah, it's like when the internet came out, I was kind of gutted. I'm like, well, there's no mystery left in the world now. I remember I used to go to the library and find things out that was just mind blowing, and now it's all in the palm of your hand. And it's like, for instance, trying to remember, you see somebody in a movie, like, what are they out of? And for that hour long or the few days later, where you're trying to work it out, where nowadays that's what he was in.
I do that all the time, actually.
There's other times I'll be like, don't tell me, I'll remember, you know. And you want the
what you're saying. Like, go on, mate.
I know I was going to say, I mean, I can guarantee most conspiracy theorists are going to be very anti-establishment. You know, I'm not saying I'm anti-establishment now, but I'm very, very skeptical of government, and not in, is COVID fake or anything like that, but more financial, you know, money going to places where maybe it shouldn't be, things like that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm at that level of questioning things, but I still don't really trust anybody that I could vote into my government in the UK, in England. And I more or less can guarantee every conspiracy theorist is going to be starting along them lines of, they lie to us, you know, COVID is fake, and it just all kind of, it's like a tree, isn't it? And, you know, just all leads to one place. I think Tusk sort of mentioned it in the chat earlier a few times, the J word, which again I won't mention on the stream because it gets picked up by the algorithms, you know. And I think even that has to be, you know, actually, because of conspiracy theorists, has to be, you know, you can't even say the word, you know, because it's just ridiculous. You know,
Tuss actually has a question for you guys. What was the most ridiculous claim or theory that you came across in the conspiracy community?
What was the? Sorry, mate, I missed it.
What was the most ridiculous claim or theory that you came across in the conspiracy community?
There's a lot to choose from.
Yeah. I mean, the most ridiculous one I've heard is the moon coming out of trying to think of the blooming name of it now. But the moon, like, was basically farmed or something and is full of helium. That was the most ridiculous one I've heard.
Flat Earth Aussie Roscoe, yeah. The moon was dug out of the Grand Canyon by giants and placed in the sky to mock us for worshipping the sun.
See, I think there's two that stick out to me. There's the birds aren't real, which I think was just a troll anyway. But then there's the mountains, the big giant tree stumps. Now, I thought of that when ST said about writing a book on fiction. Now, when they was saying about the mountains of giant tree stumps, the image it gives you is a wonderful image. You could imagine an Earth with huge giant trees, and it's a beautiful picture. And the fact of it being real, the chance of it being real, obviously very small. And obviously, I think it was Mr. Sensible who explained it in a way that I understood. Because still, you look at it and you think, well, they are quite tree stump looking. And I've been to the Natural History Museum. I've seen petrified wood that's as hard as rock. So it does kind of tie in. But sorry,
did you scare the wood?
It was already petrified, don't worry. But no, it's but yeah, that's probably the most ridiculous. The giant tree stumps.
Yeah, but again, like you say though, they do look like a tree stump.
They do.
So when you're a conspiracy theorist, you're going to get drawn into it, aren't you? I never actually went that far though, but
that's what fascinates me about this. Why didn't they think it the other way? That tree stumps look like the eroded away core of a volcanic vent, because that's just as true.
Mm-hmm. That's not a tree stump. That used to be a mountain.
Yeah, because I think it's because we're small and we think in terms of small things, not in big things. Because the Earth is huge, and most amazing things happen on Earth. You know, I mean, there's even been natural nuclear explosions underground. Way back in the past, because where conglomeration of uranium gets together and the conditions are right, and not very common. There's a couple in West Africa that they've detected, but not recently, but in the millions of years in the past. But I would think the average person would think that's not possible. You'd have to have technology to make that happen.
Mm.
Yeah, I was quite surprised when you said that then. It's a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by the incredulity thing. You know, you just because you haven't experienced it, therefore it must be fake. And that's what I say when I say people who are inexperienced or not educated can't comprehend that these things are real. And I don't say that to be insulting. I'm just saying we're all like that as we move through life. You know, when I was 18, I knew nothing, and I thought I knew everything, but I knew nothing. And I could have easily fallen for things. We were getting back to what we're saying, of people who are sticking it to the man and tend to be unemployed and got plenty of time in their hands. It's easy to fall into that if you don't know any better. And it's not. There's nothing wrong with not knowing enough, but there is something wrong with assuming that you do, and
making
when you
claims
actually
on something
don't.
that you don't understand. Yeah.
No,
there's a big difference.
That is a brilliant sentence. Because that sums up conspiracy theorists in a nutshell, making claims on things they don't understand. I mean, you just look at any debate with a flat earther, for example. Like when Ranty was debating, who was he debating? It was the guy after he came out.
Brian,
not
something.
Brian,
Logic.
yes. Brian the Potato, yes. Brian, it's certainly not logic, that's for sure. Not any logic I'm aware of. And Brian was saying, doing what you guys were saying. He wants to hold on to the mystery. He was saying any old rubbish just to deny the fact that Ranty proved that he was wrong.
Yeah, and they can't understand how it was just one photo. They keep saying, like, you've seen this over and over again. Why didn't the other photos change you? But I can understand that, because that photo was probably only 20% of the puzzle. As he's kind of explained, leaving his channel and stepping away from it was a big part of that puzzle as well, I think, if you know what I mean.
He was trapped.
That was obviously that was like the straw that broke the camel's back. But it's a long process before that, if you know what I mean. And I know people are shocked to think, oh, what? And I know even some Globers are kind of doubting him, but I honestly 100% believe he is being genuine. I can just see it and tell. I'm no expert, it's my opinion, but I think he is being 100% genuine. It's just a shock, obviously, even to Globers, and I can see why. But he made the right decision.
I think you're right. He's certainly he's gone. He hasn't just tiptoed over the line. He's gone all the way. Everything he says confirms that. He's. I remember having one chat with him, and he was saying that I couldn't see what he was explaining because of my cognitive dissonance. Well, now it's proved that he was the one with cognitive dissonance because he's accepted the reality now.
Yeah,
and he's certainly done it with all guns blazing, you might say.
Yeah, I'm glad he has as well, because he was such a big name in the flat Earth community. No one really had.
Even while he was a flat earther, he seemed a nice guy.
Relatively, yes.
He was one of the nicer guys, wasn't he?
Yeah, like I said, he would get a bit narky in the comments, and he called me a troll and things like that when I was just asking him questions that he should have been asking himself. But
well,
anyway,
he called me a prick, but I just laugh about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to get stupid about it. It's the internet, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
yeah. If you don't have a thick skin on the internet, then get off it.
Yeah. Talking about
and,
get off it, Hugo, mate. I do actually have to run in about 2 or 3 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Can't you cross the legs?
No, yeah. No, yeah. I've had got an early job coming in the morning, which I hadn't thought I had, but it's come in, and I've obviously got to get an early night, shall we say? Because I've got to be up. But
well, you're a shill getting
yes,
that money. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long drive to Houston.
Yeah, it is.
The road's a bit wet too.
I'll just take a rocket.
Well, you know.
Well, can't they transport you these days? You know, with that NASA hidden technology.
Yeah.
All right, no worries. Well, in that case, you want to say some wrapping up words, I guess, for you.
Yeah, I suppose, mate. Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for asking me on. Johnny, mate, it's been great to actually have a chat with you. And
yeah, you too, mate.
You know, we'd like to do it again, mate. Maybe have you on my channel sometime. We'll just have a little natter.
Yeah.
That'll be all right, mate.
Have a giggle.
Yeah. Have a little giggle. Have a laugh at our old selves. Yeah. So no, thanks both of you guys. I'm sorry I've got to cut it a little bit shorter. I meant to message you before the stream actually started, Hugh, if you know what I mean. But just got back a little bit late. But
got an hour out of you. That's good.
A little shill out is my history channel, a part of history, and that's kind of, you know, I still am going to continue with the channel STST, of course, come on streams like this and maybe do another self debunk. But I would ask anyone listening to maybe check out a part of history. I'm very proud of it, from maybe where I've come from what my previous beliefs. And yeah, please check it out. And thank you guys again.
I find it
Before
fascinating.
you leave, can I just ask you? Sorry.
Yes, mate. Yeah.
You go, Johnny.
Essie, have you seen the meme that's been made of you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a. I mean, as much as it's a bit of a piss take, it's still a big respect towards you. And every time I see it, it's just a big thumbs up to you. It really is, and you know, big respect for you for what you did. I mean, you was in it a hell of a lot longer than me, so it must have been really difficult for you to make the switch. So again, big respect to you, man.
Oh, cheers, man. That really does mean a lot. Yeah, that meme was, you know, it came out obviously when Simon Dan made that video actually about Ranty, saying like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if STST had more subs than Ranty? And then obviously someone must have watched that video, then made the meme, and yeah, that just kind of skyrocketed. Yeah, you know, I had nothing to do with that meme actually, but it's like the top meme in Reddit's history on our memes at the minute. In 2020, it was actually the second top post of 2020 behind a Rick Astley meme. So yeah, it was like, that shows you how big it kind of got. But yeah,
wow.
man, thank you.
You're a part of history. Yeah, and speaking of a part of history, your history channel, I'm subscribed to that, so I encourage everyone to subscribe to that as well. And I think it's fascinating because when I lived in England, I was very much aware of how much history I was surrounded by. Here in Australia, it's only 200 years. We don't have that much history around, even less where I am. But where you live, and pretty much anyone in Britain has history all around them. And if I lived there, I think I'd be out doing capturing the local history and putting it on YouTube too. I think that's a fascinating thing to do. So good on you for doing that.
Oh, thanks, mate.
All right, well, I'll let you go to sleep so you can go earn your money in the morning.
Yeah, go and earn me pennies. Yeah, thanks ever so much, guys.
No worries. Peace, a pleasure to have you on as always, mate.
Oh, mate, thank you. And yeah, obviously, whenever you see me live, Hugh, mate, just ask me to jump on, and you are more than welcome. Peace out, guys, and keep it global.
Keep it global. And he's gone. All right. So I was about to say thank you for being on again, but he's gone already. So, all right, where did we get up to? I better have a look at the chat because I like to give the chat some love. Who we got in here? So Mike 71, Devil's Tower. That might be a good place to start. Oh, Dr. Stinky Butt. Okay, the Butler. is waving hi. All right, hi. That's a cool name. Science is the dibble. Don't know what that means. It's made of delicious. Okay, this is getting confusing. I think I've jumped into a conversation in the middle. If it's from Mick D, it is plastic. Okay. I think I've had an encounter with Devil's Tower. Oh, what was his name? Did you ever consider that you were viewed as the same sort of nutter as you viewed the helium balloon theorists as by everyone else? I guess that's a question to you, Johnny.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously it was ST who mentioned the helium balloon, but yeah, obviously when you're saying something that's really out there, and you know it's out there, when you're talking about flat Earth, you realise how against the majority you are, and obviously you know that people are seeing you as a crazy person. I was showing my mates pictures of flight paths, saying, "Look how that's straight," and whereas on a globe it's not straight and it doesn't make sense, and it's like me and my girlfriend at the time, we were both trying to take pictures of Nibiru. And at the time, you're like, well, I'm going to find something here. I'm going to find something. But looking back, you can imagine how people would have thought of you. But half my mates, we were all bloody stoners and that. They were all just like, whoa, they were just like brushing it off and not really taking me on. I wasn't really delving deep into it with my mates and everything. I was just sat in front of the computer like, look what I found. But yeah, it was a strange time, to be honest. Like I say, I wasn't deep in it for long. The way I see it is, I think I was a flat earther for around about the same time anyone who becomes a flat earther would be a flat earther. So you're convinced by it for a while, and then you spot something and you start researching. How they get away with having the tagline "Research Flat Earth," I don't know, because any amount of research proves you wrong. So
yeah,
that's
what I always laugh at.
Of the highest degree, and they complain about
and they're
that
the
more
ones
than
that
anything as well.
Yep, they accuse everyone else of being indoctrinated.
Yeah, I mean, another thing as well. While I was kind of in it, it's like I've always looked up at space, and I've always been amazed by space and wondered, and I've smoked weed a lot in my life, and you look up at space a lot and wonder a lot. But looking up and thinking this isn't real, it was soul destroying. It was absolutely soul destroying. For those few months that I was kind of under, it was, I can't believe that all that wonder I've always had isn't what I thought it was. And that was a big thing that I felt. It was the destruction of wonder, I suppose. But now it's, look back and you're amazed at how you could have believed. It's a very weird one. It's weird.
Replaced with a new wonder then.
Into it. Yeah. See, I do still have a lot of conspiracy in me, but definitely not flat Earth.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, everyone in their entire life, at some point at least, believes in something false very adamantly, because they've picked up on something, misinterpreted it, and said, sure, that must be the truth. And then after a while, they realize that it's not, if they've got any intellectual integrity and self-respect, really. And that's the journey you described for what you had. For a few months, you're taking pictures in Nibiru. I would have thought the fact that you never ever showed up Nibiru in your photos would have given you a clue. Off. Hello?
So I think I broke up a bit then. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, sweet. I think I broke up a bit then. My internet's not the greatest.
When you were taking pictures of Nibiru, did the fact that you never got a picture of it sort of suggest to you that it might not exist?
Eventually, yeah. I mean, it did take me a few weeks of trying. But Nibiru's again, as a fictional story, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's absolutely brilliant. But I've looked into Sitchin, Zecharia Sitchin, and the 12th Planet, and the what's the other one? I've literally just got it delivered the other day. Genesis Revisited, and a lot of these things, and they are just interesting. If you look at them as fiction, it's brilliant. But then when you start looking at it as possibly true, that's a big leap. That's a big leap and takes a lot of faith, essentially.
Yeah, definitely faith.
Yeah. That's why
And
I
it's
say
quite
to flat
fascinating.
earthers, sorry, go on.
Yep, go. No, you go.
No, I say to flat earthers a lot, I say, look, because, right, I'll just say now, one of my only hates of the flat earth debate is when people are using other people's faith in religion to manipulate them into believing that the earth's flat. And it, because my mum was very religious, I was brought up Catholic, I was an altar boy, all sorts of crap. Not really anymore, don't really have a faith, but I do respect people who do. So I'll say to flat earthers, look, if you are saying that flat earth is your faith, that's fine, you can keep it, and I won't even try disproving it. But if you're trying to say that it's a fact, then I'm going to be all over you. And believe me, I am one of their worst nightmares as well. Now that, because obviously since then it's been a good few years, I've learned a hell of a lot, and that's one plus and one positive I will give to flat Earth. It's taught me a hell of a lot of science, a hell of a lot of science. I mean, I'm not exactly the most intelligent guy in the world, but I know enough science now to be able to battle pretty much every flat Earth proof that's thrown at me. So, kudos to them for that, if nothing else.
Well, that's also a testament to your character that you wanted to go and rather than just stick with the things that you were comfortable with and the wonder and the mystery and that kind of thing, you wanted to find out what the truth actually was. You're a genuine truth seeker. And you went out there and found out, kept researching until you actually found out what the truth was.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was one of the same things that drew me in that got me out, and that was Chicago over Lake Michigan. Because obviously you look at it and you think, well, yeah, you can see Chicago. You shouldn't see Chicago. I had no idea what refraction was at the time. I'd heard of like superior mirages and heat waves and inferior mirages and stuff like that. So I kind of had a slight inkling of what they were. I never really related the two. Now watching Rob Skiba talking about Chicago over Lake Michigan, you get drawn in, and at one point I was like, well, as I was kind of on my way out, I'm like, well, maybe the Earth's just much bigger than we thought. Maybe we've been given the wrong dimensions. Maybe whoever's worked it out wrong. And whenever you hear a flat earther saying, maybe the Earth's just much bigger, or not even a flat earther, obviously, but when you hear somebody who's saying, and I've heard quite a few people say that line, that's when I realised that there are other people that were in the same position I was, where it's not 100% flat, it's not 100% a globe, but maybe there's something been mixed up somewhere, and that's when I'll jump in and I'll help. I've had 3 that I can remember, flat earthers, inbox me on Facebook thanking me for helping them realise that the Earth isn't flat. Now that's not many, but there's probably been more that I haven't mentioned anything that just changed their mind and stopped debating it. But then when I started looking into Chicago more, I watched a video from Rob Skiba where he said, one of the main reasons we know it's not a superior mirage is because it's never seen inverted. And within 10 seconds of him saying those words in his video, Chicago was inverting behind him in his video because he was using the time lapse from Joshua Nowicki. And in that time lapse video, it's around about, I think it's about 50 seconds long. And the last 10 seconds they show the inversion. So beforehand, you didn't see it all. At the moment the flat earthers got their screenshot, you see it all, and then like 10 seconds later it's all mixing up and going upside down, and I'm thinking, well, why is he saying it's never seen inverted when it's inverting? You can see it inverting there. And you look at other videos, you type in Chicago superior mirage on YouTube, there's loads of upside down videos, there's loads of like completely inverted videos. It's like the famous meme that they use where it says, this is a superior mirage at the top, and it's got that ship that's kind of all distorted. And then at the bottom it says, this is proof of a flat Earth. And it's got the Chicago skyline. And it's like, well, there's plenty of pictures of Chicago looking exactly like that top picture of the mirage. But you're not told that. You're not shown that by flat earthers. They just indoctrinate and you're saying, seeing the whole skyline is evidence of a flat Earth. And when the guy on the news said it's a mirage, he's lying to you. Well, my question is, well, why would it be on the news if that's what you see every day. Everyday occurrences don't make the news.
Yep,
You know, it's
that's a bit of thinking
so,
that conspiracy theorists don't do, because it'll stop them living their fantasy.
So once I realised that Skiba was purposely misrepresenting what we're seeing, because he's researched Chicago a lot, and for him to say it never inverts wasn't just a mistake. That was a purposeful manipulation. So that's when I started cross-examining other flat Earth proofs I'd found, and I very, very, very quickly found there's not a single one that has any merit. None, apart from the horizon looks flat. Yeah, it does. Sweet. Now
Yeah,
work out
that's an
why.
opinion, though. That's an opinion. No, it's not a measurement. So, but they don't seem to understand the difference.
Yeah, it's been
I
a
wonder what they do with all
really
those
good
cherries
year.
that they pick.
God almighty, they'll have to get themselves a huge basket and make themselves some cherry pie. Why not?
Or maybe they turn it into cherry wine and just get blotto. Certainly, a lot of the things they talk about seem to be blotto. So,
well, yeah. And when you're talking about weed as well, apparently weed's known as the thinking drug. I think some of them need a bit. It's a bit crazy.
well, I wouldn't know, as I said. Oh, I had a thought and then I lost it. God, I'm getting bad at this. I should take notes while I'm doing these live streams. But then again, I wouldn't be listening while I was taking a note. I just can't focus. I'm a very focused, very male. I focus on one thing. So, it's not your fault. It's my brain that's letting me down. What's happening in the chat? They're talking about Genesis, as in the band Genesis.
Oh, right, yeah.
Riley's favourite line is that he thinks the world is much bigger. Yes. What evidence do you have, Riley? You can't have an opinion without some evidence.
Well, no,
g'day,
if somebody's
Mark.
saying they think the Earth is bigger, then they're halfway to realising that it's not what the flat earthers are saying. It's not what the conspiracy theorists are saying. That's my opinion. If somebody's saying the Earth's bigger, then they're halfway to the truth.
Well, that's one thing I always try to do when people say, when a conspiracy theorist says this is true, and I say, on what did you base your faith that is true? What was the moment where you said yes, that's true? And most of them just say, oh, it just felt like it was true, or something along those lines. And you think, well, okay, so you're not really basing it on anything real. You're just absolutely sure that it's true, even though you've got no evidence for it whatsoever. And that the intellectual dishonesty of that will affect some of them, but others just want to, as you said, stay with the mystery.
Yeah, you see, I've gotten to a point now where on Facebook I'll just ask somebody, because half the time, 90% are posted about NASA, and I'll just say, look, NASA's in all honesty, NASA's irrelevant to the debate about the shape of the Earth. If I took a picture of a tiger, does that mean I've got all responsibility for explaining and proving that tigers exist? No, all I did was take a picture. The evidence proves the Earth is a globe. All NASA are doing is taking photos of it. Well, I mean, obviously they're doing a bit more than that. That's not all they're doing. But it's like they can't be held accountable for everything. So at that point, I'll just say to them, look, do you have any evidence of a flat Earth? If so, name one. And I'll say, keep it related to shape and make it something you've actually researched enough to be able to defend. And I've been asking that now for about a year. I've had one person actually reply with the word water, that's not tried changing the subject and or shifting the burden and just said water. And I've said, look, what? And he's gone curvature, and I've obviously shown him a boat, a picture of a ship. See, I've got a couple of pictures. So I'll show him a picture of a ship, not half, just a little bit obstructed by the horizon. And then I've got other pictures from the same video where he's zoomed in and he's waited, and the ship's got more and more obstructed. So I'll show the first picture, wait for him to say, if you zoom in, you'll see the whole thing again. And then I'll say, okay, here's 4 pictures of it in different stages of zoom. Why did that not happen? And the amount of times I've heard people say, well, I've heard other people say that. I'll say, okay, so why are you repeating that without cross-examining it? If you're presenting something, you should at least be able to back it up and not just be a repeat of somebody else's claim. But again, I was doing it. I was doing the same myself. I was repeating other people's claims without fully looking into it until I did look into it, and then it all went away. So trying to get people to research at the minute is difficult.
That's absolutely right. People like the idea. They've usually heard it from someone else, and they're just repeating it. And that's what is so hilarious when flirts say that, we're just repeating what the scientists say. We're repeating it for a reason, that we can have faith that the process that developed that information has integrity, because that's what science is all about. It's why science exists.
Yeah.
What do flirts have? They have a Papa Flirf told them they should think this, and they liked the idea, so they did. It's not based on anything real.
Yeah, and they'll tell us to present the scientific method at every corner. It's like, when have they ever done that? Ever? For any of their proofs? It's such a hypocritical debate, and such an inconsistent debate.
I'd love to see some flat Earth evidence. It'd be great to see that. But no one has ever come up with any. They come up with stuff they don't understand, or they've misinterpreted. And not Oakley. Riley's the king of that. He takes things and totally misinterprets them, but because he's Riley, he will never back down. So he's not smart enough to back down. Certainly doesn't have an intellectual integrity.
No, but I mean, if Ranty can do it, and if ST can do it, then if nothing else, hopefully it'll give a few of them a kick up the rear to possibly just reconsider their stance. That's enough. Just like they say, a lot of them say, "Oh, we're just planting the seeds." It's like, well, hopefully some of these ex-flat earthers can plant seeds as well.
They're planting the seeds, but look at the fruit that they bear. They bear people like Oakley and DeBay.
Yeah. You see, there's going to be a big influx as well, because obviously with this new, I've spotted in Facebook quite a lot of newbies again, bringing up the old proofs again. It's like I had somebody earlier. I asked him the question, name one, keep it related to shape. So he showed me that picture of Robert Simon. It's Photoshop, but it has to be, with the blue marble picture. And I'm like, mate, that was 9 years ago. I says he explained how and why they use composites. Composite doesn't mean fake, and I'll show you why. And then I'll say, take a picture of half a car, real photo. Take a photo of the other half of a car, real photo. Put both photos together in Photoshop to make one full car picture. Fake. Cars obviously don't exist. That's the logic they're going by.
Yep.
And it's like, composite doesn't mean fake. It's lots of photos put together. And then I'll say, but since 2015, they sent up the Epic Discover camera, and they've been taking full non-composite photos of the Earth. I'll give them one, and I'll say, look, prove it's fake with evidence. And once I've batted away the stars and satellites, exposure and too small, they've left with nothing. It's like, right, so it's fine. The photos might be fake, but what you've got to realize is none of them have ever been proven to be fake. So saying that NASA photos are fake is a wrong thing to say without any backup. So then I'll try and get them off the subject of NASA, and I try and discuss the lunar eclipse all the time, and they just won't.
I think that's number 3 in my flat Earth killers, the lunar eclipse.
What's your number 1?
Number 1 is the fact we can measure the fact that the Earth is round.
Measure it, yeah.
And we've observed it, like I said, with the Rory's Tenerife, although someone said it was a Beether instead, but it doesn't matter, somewhere in the Mediterranean, that observation. So.
And what's your number 2?
Number 2, I've got to remember now. Jeez, put me on the spot. I'll have to look it up.
Well, no, I've took the lunar eclipse through the full scientific method, and I wait for him to ask me because I've got it saved on my phone. I did actually message FTFE asking him if he could look over it and see whether I've got any of it wrong, or I mean, I've asked Mr. Sensible look at it. He said it was fine. I'm happy enough with it. I just, if there's any half intelligent flat earthers that could pull me on it, I'd rather be braced for it. So
number 2 was the South Celestial Pole, which I can go out into my backyard each night and film if I want to, which I've done several times.
That's it. You can't have 2 opposing rotations on one
flat plane. Yeah,
there's millions.
And yet, first will argue that it's quite amazing.
It is.
They're so desperate to be right, you know.
To be fair, there's so many. If I could pretend to be a flat earther and come up with a million better arguments than they could. It's so ridiculous.
Well, I think that comes back to the fact that, like I said earlier, they're either inexperienced or uneducated. So it's all arguments from emotion, and that's why their arguments are crap. But they've convinced themselves with those arguments, so they just assume everyone else will be convinced as well. And and that's why their arguments are so crap, because they're starting off a low base. They're at the top of Mount Stupid on the Dunning-Kruger curve, and they just don't know how stupid they are. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. It's if you know about Dunning-Kruger, you know what that means. And it just means they just need to educate themselves and get more experience, and so their confidence comes down to a level that's appropriate for their knowledge. And then as they learn more, they'll become experts as well.
Yeah.
We all go through it. Every human goes through the Dunning-Kruger curve at some point.
Yeah. I mean, optics has been a big one for me. Optics, understanding, like I say, refraction and mirages a bit more, understanding how they work and understanding, because a lot of them superior mirages are always upside down. It's like, no, they're not. They can be. Depends on the humidity, depends on the angle, depends on the time of the day. There's all sorts of stuff that can change, and they'll say superior mirages are always upside down. So all the other flat earthers will repeat superior mirages have to be upside down, and it's indoctrination in the highest level. It really is.
Yeah.
Debate says it. Everyone follows it.
I never seem to get the the idea that there's a scale. It's never absolute one way or the other. It might be upside down, but if it's compressed a lot by the atmosphere, the lens is you're at a certain point of the atmospheric lens, then it's going to might be upside down, but only a tiny little bit, and you might not be able to perceive it. That doesn't mean it's not upside down. That doesn't mean it's not a superior mirage. And other times you're further into the lens, you might say, and therefore it's going to be much bigger and much more apparent. Things change, and as you said, when they were, it was talking, had the Chicago skyline in the background. He said it's not inverted, so it's not one of those. And then before his very eyes, well, behind him anyway, it became inverted because the conditions changed. And the world is a wonderful place. Science is about studying what happens in the world. That's why you need a process that has integrity, and that's why we have science, and that's why anything outside of science is just pseudoscience.
See, that's it now. The mystery that I've always had is it's kind of been replaced with understanding science, because every new bit of science you understand is wonderful in itself. You're just like, wow, that's crazy. And yeah, you could go personally and do, well, I don't believe that, so therefore it can't be true. But it's like, wow, I can't believe that. That's amazing. There's different ways to look at it, and you can allow yourself to believe and be amazed by things. It's not that amazes me, therefore there must be something wrong with it.
I love learning new things. It's a wonderful experience. I'd never even conceived that existed before, and suddenly it's part of your world, and that's an amazing feeling.
Another one, being wrong. When you're proven wrong, you've learned something. You've learned something new. It's there's a lot of positives that can come out of flat Earth, but as long as you do come out of flat Earth, you'll
Tusk has a question for you. Tusk has another question for you. Did you have a eureka moment, or was it a gradual realization that you had taken the wrong path?
It was a bit of both, really. It was when I realized Rob Skiba was purposely misrepresenting. That's when I was like, well, hold on, why is this? And then I realized that a lot of other proofs were purposely misrepresented, and I realized that quite quick. So, I mean, it was a gradual thing, but it was it's all bollocks, essentially. Excuse me, English.
Well, bollocks isn't that bad.
No,
it's like bitch, I guess. It's a valid word.
You have a lot of a similar slang as us.
Well, we speak English, you see. We're not like Americans.
Yeah, the Americans, I don't think they even understand what the word bollocks means.
Well, in that context, I mean, obviously they understand it's the testicles of a bull, but yeah. Or testicles in general.
But yeah, I suppose it was...
Testicles!
Rob Skiba kind of gave me the eureka, but again, it was Chicago that drew me in and Chicago that threw me out. So good on Chicago, Chi-town.
So you kept mentioning that you engage flat earthers on Facebook. Where would we find so we can watch? Where would we find you doing that?
You would be really impressed. I have some fun on there, I really do. Just same name, Johnny Orbital, in pretty much every flat Earth group I'm allowed in.
All right. So any particular group?
There's a lot of them are all similar name. There's one called Flat Earth Society. I mean, most of the admins in the groups I'm in are Globers, but they do allow all flat earthers in. They let them post the memes, they let them do all the rest of it. Not like the echo chambers that the flat earthers have. So there's Flat Earth Society, it's all written in capitals. There's the official Flat Earth and Globe discussion.
Is that still going?
Nathan's.
I thought that got...
No, it's not. It's not Nathan's. It's another one.
It's a real one.
Yeah, but there's quite a few. But it's like sometimes somebody will post a link to a group. I'll try looking at that group, and I'm already banned. I've never even visited. I've never even searched, and I'm already banned, which is a good sign. Well, I'm guessing it's some of the people who have kind of destroyed in other flat earth groups might be the mods, or might be friends with the mods and says, look, get rid of this guy before he comes in. I've no idea. I mentioned that earlier. Some guys like, oh, you're a bit up yourself thinking that, aren't you? I'm like, well, what else can I think? I'm banned from groups I've never even visited. They must know my name by now, especially having Orbital. It's a name that kind of sticks with them. Obviously, it's not my real name, right? But it's a name that sticks out to them, doesn't it? So, I don't know. But yeah,
being Orbital, it would trigger them somewhat too.
Yeah, and I picked the name before I was even in the groups. It's my favourite song is done by a group called Orbital. That's pretty much all it is. It just happens to have a bonus side effect of pissing them off. Happy days.
Well, yeah, instead of getting angry, they should put their energy into figuring out what actually is out there, and they wouldn't need to be angry anymore. It's funny how people humans are so self-defeating, is all I was going to say.
Yeah, it's like when they calling me names and all sorts of it, I'm saying, look, you're not making me feel bad by calling me names. I've been called all sorts. If you want to make me feel bad, prove me wrong. Prove anything I'm saying wrong. You know, that'll make me feel bad. If that's what you want, go ahead. Doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, the only question I've had from a flat earther in, I'd say, around about the past 4 or 5 years, that's actually made me stop and say, that's a good question, and I'm going to go and research it. Someone asked me, why are the craters on the Earth-facing side of the moon larger than the craters on the back side of the moon? And the way he explained it was, wouldn't those meteorites or whatever it was have to go through the Earth to get to it? And I'm like, you know what? Never thought about it. Good question. I'm not going to guess. I'll go away and I'll have a look and I'll come back. Took me a few days, and apparently during the formation, during the early days of the moon, the Earth-facing side was much softer. So the difference between kind of a meteor hitting the back and the meteor in the front is kind of the difference between dropping a stone in sand and dropping a stone in flour. Obviously, meteorites explode on impact, so the crater will be wider because it's warmer because of the reflection from the Earth. And it's something that I had to go and look into, and I learned from it. And I can't remember how the flat earther took it. Like I say, it was a while ago. But
I'm not sure that's 100% correct, but it's along the right lines, I think. Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, I could be wrong. I took a few days looking into it. I came back and it satisfied. Well, it satisfied him. It scared him off. And if I'm wrong, feel free to educate me.
Well, I was just, I mean, first of all, the thought that it has to get through the moon to get to the Earth. The moon's just one tiny speck in a sphere right around the Earth of, 250,000 miles in diameter. So, there's a lot of space there that the moon isn't in.
Yeah.
So, and they're coming from all directions. And second thing is they're ignoring gravity. The moon has gravity, the Earth has gravity.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're not coming in at 90 degrees. They're coming in at an angle, depending on what the gravity well is doing at that point and where they've come from and what their mass is and that kind of thing. The moon will well, the moon used to rotate much more than it does now. It rotates once a month, which matches its orbit. That's what tidal locking is, but it used to rotate more than that in the past. But because of that, as it became more tidally locked, more of the core of the moon would have been on the Earth side, because that it's like swinging a ball on a string around your head. That's where the most force is. So the things, the heavier elements in the moon would have settled on the Earth-facing side more than on the other side. We're not talking a lot here, but that would have been a tendency.
It would have made the difference.
It might have made the difference. So the denser materials on this side, and we're talking, like fraction of % in difference between this side and the other side. But yeah, it's also, there are large craters on the other side of the moon. To me, it's a little of a strange question. What do you mean by they're bigger on this side than they are on the other side? If he means like the mare, the Sea of Tranquility and things like that. If he means that, then there was more volcanic action on this side of the moon because of what I just described in terms of the gravitational pull of the Earth. I don't think that what you were saying about sand on the other side and rock on this side, I'm not sure that's true. But I don't know, but I don't see a reason for it. So
you see, I've when I see again, it was a while ago, so it was when I wasn't kind of versed in how to research properly and cross-examine what I heard. So I'd been asked a question, I've looked into it, found an answer online and gone back with it, instead of finding an answer, cross-referencing it with another answer and another answer. See, it's always best to kind of get it from a few sources and then kind of amalgamating them together and working it out that way.
Still a better answer than he had.
Yeah, well, yeah. But it's like as well when they're asking why there's no oval, when they come in at an angle, why is there no oval ones? Why is there no oval craters? It's like, well, it's like if you see a crater on Earth, are you expecting a huge ball that would fit in that crater? It's not how it works. It's it could be a small thing that has a big explosion on impact, which causes the crater. So it's understanding things like that, which I only learned when I was asked that question. So again, there's even though like half of it I got wrong, but I still learned that, because I'd never even thought about it. It's like, there's craters. Where's the big ball that hit? Like, it's just not how it happens. So,
well, it's part of the moon now.
Well, yeah, absolutely. It is. See, space is a wonderful, wonderful thing, and the more we find out, the more wonderful it becomes. Like I say, flat Earth does have its positives, as long as you can get yourself out of it.
Well, that's what I was thinking earlier when you were saying that it's a sense of wonder and mystery that kept you in it. I would have thought, looking at reality, there's so many more wonderful things out there. It's why would you lock yourself into things that are false when there's so much in reality that's actually amazing?
It's because of the manipulative way that the flat Earth proofs are presented, and I've repeated that many, many times. They're not as daft as they appear to be. They're very clever in the way they draw you in. Well, some of
the Popperfleurs are, certainly Eric DeBay and Nathan Oakley. They're very much they're intelligent people. They're just using their intelligence in a negative way. And I actually even think Dell, I'm probably the only one who says this, and I know Tuss disagrees with me, because he lives in the same area as Dell, and Dell is apparently well known as a dumbhead, to put it politely. But when I watch Dell's videos, I see a thoughtful and intelligent man. He's mixed in with aggression and ego, and that's what ruins it, really. But he's also thinking through things. He's just not. He doesn't, like I said before, he doesn't have the knowledge or the experience in reality to be able to think through them properly. And he comes to bad conclusions as a result. And because he's aggressive and egoistic, he's absolutely certain that he's figured out something that no one else has figured out. And that's the problem with him. Whereas if he had some better understanding of the world, better than, I'm pouring water on a soccer ball that's deflated and somehow it's not sticking.
I'm spinning it, look.
Yeah. He's just, the latest one, his latest video, he had a set square, and he said, "You see that is flat down the bottom, and if I take that out, 100 kilometers, it's still going to be flat." And I was like, "Yeah, well, you're totally ignoring the gravity pulls towards the center of the Earth, so it doesn't matter where you are on the Earth. They might not be flat compared to each other, but locally it's flat. That set square is like 10 centimeters long. You're not, and the Earth is 40,000 kilometers around. You can't make that judgment from such a tiny sample,
unless you've got plenty of them. You sellotape them all together, and then do it.
Well, you'd have.
You see,
another
thing I will say as well. When I was kind of involved in belief, when I was kind of convinced, it was the only place I was discussing it online was on the FES website, the Flat Earth Society website, which is now known by most flat earthers as controlled opposition. But I didn't find all the YouTube videos. I mean, every time someone asked me a question, say they said, right, well, how do you, for instance, I mean, it was a long time ago, so I don't remember exactly, but say if somebody said, how do you explain eclipses? First protocol, YouTube, type in flat earth eclipses. Somebody asks you about sunsets, you type in flat earth sunsets. And that's the problem. That's where the problem is. You're searching, you're starting with your conclusion, and you're trying to make the evidence fit, as opposed to, deducting things from your evidence. But I will say, if I'd have found all the YouTube comments and the Facebook groups before I got out of it, I'd probably still be one now. And the reason for that is it's a defense mechanism. Because in those groups, it's nothing but abuse from both sides. And it's an equal amount of abuse from both sides. I'm not going to say like flat earthers are worse. Globers are just as bad on Facebook when it comes to just calling names for no reason, which is why when I'm speaking to flat earthers that I think are unsure, I'll say to them, look, I'll stay polite and respectful for as long as you do. Let's discuss some evidence, what makes you think it. But if I'd have found those Facebook groups now, I'd probably still be on the defensive myself. So luckily, I kind of got out of it before I found all them. So it's, if nothing else, if somebody's, say if there's any flat earthers that watch this that are on the Facebook groups, just take a step back from them and start looking and just write a few of your proofs down and just really look into them. And then once you've found some more solid proof for your proofs, then take them and discuss them in a polite and respectful manner, like a grown-up would, So yeah, there is a draw in and a kind of, like you say, locked in a jail cell. And once you're in there, it is like a boiling pot, and everyone's just on the same wavelength as we're right, you're all dumb, and the Globers are the same. We're right, you're all dumb. The
difference is we have evidence.
Well, yeah, but they say they do as well. They feel like they do, and they feel like our evidence is misrepresented, and we know that theirs is. So it is, if another worse word to use is a trap. Once you're in there, you're trapped in there, and you start you're in the war then, as opposed to the discussion.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. Yeah, they're fighting for the cause, aren't they? Yeah, it's a mental trap of their own making, because they want to be there, because as you were saying, they want the wonder and that sort of thing, or sticking it to the man or whatever. I want to try and wrap it up now. We've been going for an hour and a half, which is probably long enough. It's getting late for you, I imagine. A few comments in the chat I want to read out at least. Colin says that Dell is a builder, Bev is a builder, Brian's Logic and Brian Leakey are builders. Is it a Masonic conspiracy that they are flirts? Well, I guess it is. Clive Had says he's a glicket we nuff. Nif? I don't know how to pronounce that. Clive Wells says, no. Well, that was terrible. Tusk says, Dell isn't a flat earther. He's a bully who fancies himself as a cult leader and flirts with the easiest people in the world to fool. He doesn't believe a single word he says. That's probably very true. Bob, everyone's imitating Dell. Bob Nodell's got gyroscope says Tusk in regards to Dell said, who let that gobshite on the telly? I've got Scottish ancestry, but I'm suck at Scottish accents. Anyway, Andreas Eld, my friend from Sweden, my favorite was a flurf who had a floating spirit level and he threw it in a small pond. Yep, the earth is flat. Charlie Walsh says, thanks, Hugh. These are important. I guess he's talking about the live stream in general. Yeah, all right. So in that case, do you want to have any final words, Johnny? You know, to anyone out there who might be on the fence and thinking one way or the other, what would you say to them?
All I'd say is cross-examine what you hear. Just cross-examine everything. Cross-examination of proofs is the most important thing you can do, especially if you're on. Well, it doesn't matter which side you're on. You know, if you get told some globe evidence, cross-examine it and make sure it all adds up. If you find any flaws, speak to people about it. And with the flat Earth as well, if you get told a flat Earth proof or you think you know a flat Earth proof, cross-examine it. Look at the answers. When flat earthers say science doesn't answer this question, science doesn't explain why this happens, that's always 100% of the time wrong. Science explains everything. And if you can find flaws in the answers that science gives, then you'll have a point. Until that happens, I don't see why anyone can say they have a valid claim against the globe. That's pretty much it. Just cross-examine everything.
That is absolutely spot on. Well said. So for me, I've got my next. I think I should have a video out before this happens, but my big news is, hello, Truth Nerds, and welcome to JARSZ. I've got a new member. Woohoo! I'm one up on Planet Walk now. Good.
JARSZ.
Yes. Well, everyone who's a member is a JARSZ.
Awesome.
Yes. Now, what was I going to say? Oh, yes. I've got, most people would be aware of a guy called Aaron Ra. And he's a well-known atheist in the US. He's from Arizona. He's got a big channel. He's got 250,000 subs, I think, on his channel. And he takes apart religion, basically. And it's quite eye-opening. And he's a fascinating guy to talk to. He's really intelligent, and I'm looking forward to meeting him and talking to him on my next live stream, which will be next Wednesday night, UTC. I think I said 6 a.m., so it'll be the same time as this one, which was 9 p.m. BST and 10 p.m. European summertime. And
6 a.m. for you.
6 a.m. for me. It's 1
I appreciate you getting up as well. I really do.
Well, I had to get up anyway, so it's 1. I know it's 1 p.m. where Aaron is in Arizona. So, he's got his own state named after him. How about that? Yes, he's from Texas, but he lives in Arizona. And I don't know what it is on the East Coast. I guess that's getting into the afternoon there. East Coast of America, of course, not Australia. I'm really looking forward to that, and I hope everyone will come along and watch that as well, because I think that's going to be fascinating. He's an amazing guy, and I've got a few questions that I've never heard anyone ask him before, so it'll be interesting to see what he says to those. All right, then. So thanks very much, Johnny, for being on the channel. I hope we have you again at some point. You've got some very interesting points of view. And it was good to have you with Seek Truth, Speak Truth. You guys worked together pretty well. It was good.
Yeah.
Thanks again. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Thanks to all my members and other contributors. And we'll see you, if not before, next Wednesday. Have a good one. So there's nothing left to do but cue the corgi.
You're despicable.